let's talk about taxes. For most of us, just hearing that word brings up feelings of, well, confusion, maybe even a little bit of pain. But what if we looked at it in a totally different way? What if we just saw it as a system, a set of rules that, once you get the hang of them, are actually pretty straightforward?
So, are taxes just a necessary evil? I mean, it really feels that way sometimes, right? We've all felt that little sting when you see money just vanish from your paycheck, or you notice that extra charge on a receipt.
But what if I told you that behind all that seeming complexity, there's a surprisingly simple logic? In the next few minutes, we're going to put together a mental toolkit that will let you understand the basics of any tax, no matter where you are in the world.
Okay, first things first, why should we even care this much? Well, because taxes aren't just some yearly chore. For any person, for any business, they are the fundamental rules of the game that shape almost every single financial decision you make.
I mean, it starts with the most basic thing. It's a legal obligation. You ignore it, you face some pretty serious penalties. For a business, taxes are a huge cost that directly hits your profits and affects the cash you have on hand day to day. But it goes even deeper. The tax rules actually drive massive decisions, like where you choose to invest your money or how a company decides to structure itself.
So, look, if taxes are something we can't avoid, what actually makes a tax system good, versus one that's just a chaotic, unfair mess? It turns out economists have a sort of fair play test with a few key principles. A good tax system really needs four things. First up, equity. It's got to be fair. Second, certainty. The rules need to be crystal clear and predictable, no surprises. Third, convenience. It should be as easy as possible to actually pay the tax. And finally, economy. It shouldn't cost the government a fortune to collect it, and it shouldn't cost you a fortune just to comply with it.
Let's just zoom in on that first one, equity, for a second, because fairness can mean two different things here. On one hand, you have horizontal equity. That's pretty simple. It just means people in the same financial boat should pay pretty much the same amount of tax. Makes sense. But then you have vertical equity, which is the idea that people who have a greater ability to pay should actually contribute a bigger share.
Okay, now we're at the absolute core of this explainer. I promised you a toolkit, and here it is. This is the framework that will let you decode pretty much any tax law out there and see exactly how it's built.
We're going to call this the 4 Pillars framework. And really, you should think of them as the 4 essential questions you need to ask. If you can answer these 4 questions about any tax, you've basically cracked the code.
And here they are. Pillar 1. Who is the taxpayer? Is it an individual person or is it a company? Pillar 2. What's the tax base? What are we actually taxing? Is it income, a product, a piece of property? Pillar 3. What is the tax rate? What's the exact percentage being applied? And Pillar 4. What are the rules for filing and payment? How and when does it get paid? Ask these 4 questions and any tax suddenly stops being a black box.
All right, so now that we have this awesome 4-pillar decoder, we can start using it to sort every tax into one of 2 main buckets. And honestly, this is probably the biggest, most fundamental difference in the entire world of tax. The whole difference boils down to one simple question. Can the financial burden of the tax be passed on to somebody else? With a direct tax, the answer is a hard no. The person or the company that gets the bill is the one who feels the pinch. But with an indirect tax, that burden gets shifted. A business might be the one to collect it, but it's the final consumer, you, who actually pays for it in the price of something.
You see this every single day. Your personal income tax? That's the classic direct tax. It comes straight out of your paycheck, and you're the one paying it. But that value-added tax, or VAT, that's on your morning coffee or that shirt you bought, that's an indirect tax. The coffee shop owner is collecting it from you and then passing it along to the government. You're the one who ultimately pays.
So we know how taxes are built and we know how they're categorized, but who is actually out there collecting all this money?
Well, it's usually not just one giant organization. Most governments split up the work. You'll typically have a main revenue department that handles the big ones, like income tax and VAT. Then there's often an excise department that focuses only on taxes for very specific things, like alcohol, tobacco, or cars. And finally, you've got a customs department that manages all the taxes on goods coming into or going out of the country.
So, let's wrap this up. We've gone over the principles of a good tax system, we've untangled the difference between direct and indirect taxes, and, most importantly, you now have that 4-pillar decoder. So my final question to you is this. Now that you have this toolkit, what do you see differently when you look at a receipt, or your payslip, or even a news headline about some new tax? The system isn't a mystery anymore.